All right, we are recording.
Excellent. All right, ready. There we go. Got my my Better Cloud Monitor T-shirt on today. It has made its way into the laundry cycle of clothes that we wear. I can see Blair's got he's got a SaaSOps T-shirt on, and there's other various casual wear because, of course, button-up shirts. And apart from Caleb, who is wearing an avatar of a button-up shirt, and Alex, who may or may not be wearing anything because he doesn't have his camera on. But casual wear is what we wear 24/7. With sweatpants now that we are all managed remote working. Is that the
sweatpants? Who puts on pants when they work from home?
Depends how cold it is.
What I was asking as well.
You're in sunny California. We're in still slightly warm, slightly chilly northeast New Jersey.
That's not true. Blair just moved. He's an hour away from me now.
Oh.
Out on the outskirts of the Portland area.
I think for next solve, we should all go extra formal, like full suit and tie, tuxedo, switch it up a little bit.
So, I am actually wearing jeans and a button-up today.
Oh.
I'm not sure if that's because I've had a shitty week and I'm just like, I need to feel a little bit human today. But I don't know how this happened, but I am wearing jeans, real pants, which is not typical, and an actual button-up.
That's good. Well, we can see like Dominic's going to put on his sports jacket, and we get to see Alex wearing
this is my meeting jacket.
Classic Better Cloud jacket from Altitude 2018. Yep.
Here, good vintage.
Yes, it is. So we've got the regular usual suspects: Rose, myself, Blair, Michael Stone, Justine. Great for joining. Jared, Dominic, Brian, Alex, and Caleb. So I thought this is one of our scheduled Solve meetings. And of course, for last week, we did an unofficial, unfiltered, unrecorded, no holds barred meeting. This one we are recording. We'll put up on the YouTubes for everybody else to enjoy later on in life. I thought
you went with less clothes last week.
Oh no, we can't tempt people like that by telling them fibs. No, it was just small, honest conversations about the challenges or the changes with remote working. Which does everybody's company use the term managed remote working? No, must be just the buzzword that my parent company has come up with, but or maybe it's a very high level corporate, highbrow way of saying work from home. It is managed remote working because, of course, if you're a global company, because I don't think not all of you guys are.
Oh, it's to make you think that you're not just remote working. Like, we're managing you while you're remote working.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's exactly only from your company. From your corporation, but I heard that as well.
Yeah. You have? Maybe it's a European thing. It did come out of our European head.
I just Googled it, and I don't see it in the buzzword lexicon yet.
Ooh, so maybe I should register as a domain name. So then have a landing.
Sounds like a micromanager came up with it.
Yes, have it as a landing page it's full of ads. So Brian's popped in, and Dave Jackson as well. Thank you for joining. So it's a term, I guess, being a global company. And of course it is managed because not everybody's working from home from every area. Some places do still allow you to go in. I know this week I only had one thing on the agenda to discuss, which I'm hoping everybody has read or looked at. And I'm hoping Rose has the book handy so she could read us some of her favorite passages from her new book about choosing your best SaaSOps application. It's very interesting. I was on a call with another company a few days ago, and they asked me, what do you look for in a SaaS application? And a lot of things I was reciting were in your book. So it'd be good to discuss that. What other people look for, and also how they test as well. as we get to this, I guess the end of Q1, we're starting into Q2 and might be looking to get projects under the way. So wonderful view of Sean's ceiling. Excellent there. So on the camera. What just to go around quickly, what have people learned what new experiences have you had with managed remote working or working from home and supporting a remote workforce have you had in the last couple of weeks since we first met? And back then this was a temporary thing. Now it seems like it's going to be a more longer term thing. So I'm going to start from my top left, which is Rose. Have you learned anything in the last 2 weeks?
I mean, not in the last 2 weeks. That first week was definitely a little bit of a curve. I've learned that Slack is like way above the bar in setting out really excellent guidance for remote work. Nearly every link I have shared with my team and with the broader user base has been from Slack. They're putting out some really good content right now. I've also learned that people are really bored. I don't know if I'm sure y'all have seen all of the news articles about Zoom. Obviously, we are using Zoom for this meeting. To put it mildly, my boss, my security guy, and myself are fielding all of these questions. I literally just got slacked another one a couple of minutes ago as you started talking, Colin. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's overhyped. Our security folks think it's overhyped. Zoom is not any more dangerous than it was a few months ago. And, if you do your due diligence and you know what the flaws are, right, you can make an informed decision. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm learning how quickly people turn on these companies that just like weeks ago, they were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's the most perfect thing ever. And then they were like, oh wait, you're not built for consumers? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I think we are very fickle customers, and we'll turn and become, we will unfriend a company as quickly as we will friend them. So Blair, have you, from being a traveling remote worker, have you learned anything new that could be beneficial to other people in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's interesting. So this is like, first of all, the first pandemic I've ever lived through, but the first time I'm living through something crazy like this, and I'm not in a support role. Like my day-to-day is not IT, right? I'm selling to IT people now. And so this is not a dig on anybody here, but I have never been more glad to not be in support than right now.
Aw, thanks, Blair.
Yeah, I love you all. You are all saints. I am not jealous.
Blair, you said you volunteered to take up our ticket queue, didn't you?
This is true. I'm helping out where I can, but like I'm not the primary like source of all that pain. Like before Better Cloud and before my last job, I was a consultant, right? So I mean, I would be running around with my hair on fire for the last couple of weeks dealing with hundreds of clients or whatever. So for me, that's been great. On the other side, looking at all the grace people are handing everyone, both towards IT and towards each other, right? Like kids in the background or dogs or taking a call from your bathroom or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's been really cool to experience. Like, it's one of our core values, but we're in this together. And like, you can feel that everywhere, which has been really like whether you agree with the politics or, the science or like none of that matters, because regardless of what you think, we're all working from home anyways. So it's been really cool to kind of see everybody come around that in, a way that was not happening before.
Right. Yeah, that's very cool. Yes. Michael, I know you've had experience of having hangouts with people who've been on the bathroom floor during the call. How's the experience in the last couple of weeks been?
For me, I guess something I've observed, and I think everybody's observed, is unfortunately there are plenty of people getting laid off, especially in this space. Well, not especially in this space, but just in general, which is unfortunate. But I'd love to figure out something we can do as a community to to help these people out, maybe find a job or lift them up in some way, you know. So not sure what that is yet, but it's something I'd like to work towards.
Okay, it's very good. Yeah, there's certainly the financial implications, you know, as well as the health implications, you know, sort of going to be long lasting, and you know, it's not just impacting people, you know, by losing their jobs, but obviously a lot of companies are scaling back and having hiring freezes, or you know, stopping. Like there was the story about Airbnb, you know, that have stopped their advertising spend and cut a lot of execs' salaries. You know, I think that's going to be a story across the board, and you know, and for smaller companies, it won't be a story. It'll just be, you know, the fact. I know my friend up the road has had to take a 20% pay cut, and you know, because of a sort of the expected downturn. Next, going around on the list, Brian. What have you learnt up there in snowy Canada, assuming that Canada's still snowy this time of year?
Yeah, luckily no snow here, but yeah, so economic impact is another thing. So I work a lot with a lot of customers in US and Canada across different sectors. So we are seeing some organizations having to lay off some people, and they are having to deal with securing end user access, whether it's temporarily suspending the accounts or archiving the accounts. So I've had to help with that. So I think if we perhaps like created like a handbook of like quickly like offboarding or archiving or suspending accounts before I guess everything kind of started blowing up here, at least in Canada, maybe I could have been better prepared, but I've been just putting out fires here and there this past couple of weeks.
Right, and there's an interesting knock-on effect with, you know, those licenses, because you could, you know, if you've got a Microsoft Enterprise Agreement, you might have a minimum license count, or you can only do a true up, you know, once a year. And if you lay off, you know, 500 staff, you're still liable for those 500 licenses.
Right, exactly. So I think a lot of the customers are on like an annual commitment treasury plan. So I think that may be a concern coming down the road, depending on their, I guess, cash flow in the next few.
Yeah. Okay, going next round on my grid, Dominic.
Yeah, we have the same issues coming up here. A lot of our customers who lay off customers are on flexible plans, which is fortunate for them in terms of cash flow. And our customers on commitment plans are startups that actually are hiring at the moment right now. So they are remote only. They can still they still have good cash flow. They just raised money. Our biggest startup customer, for example. So they're fine for a year of this environment, and they do market research as well. So they're pretty. So that we have those both ends, as well as we actually we have seen from my old university. We have seen that people have lost their opportunity to do an internship as well during the summer. And we are actually talking to our careers team and maybe actually picking up one or two of those marketing interns for our company and using our fortunate position in this moment to help someone finish their education and help us also to grow a bit as well in a sustainable way.
That's very good. That's very good. Yeah, of course, there is the huge knock-on effect with education and students not being able to graduate, or you know, having to spend the last few weeks you know, learning from home. And of course, you know, as Rose was saying at the beginning, you know, those business apps are now being used, you know, across, like Zoom is being used across, you know, a much wider market with a lot more users. And you know, you even see like on our Better Cloud, Better IT Slack channel, you know, somebody had actually posted a question, you know, needing help for their kids being able to use Zoom on an iPad, and if other people had seen, you know, any of the problems that they were happening. So, you know, obviously an educational establishment isn't, you know, going to be set up to have, you know, all of a sudden have all of those users coming in and asking questions. Going further along, Jared, What have you learned, Scott, or what knowledge do you think you have to share in the last couple of weeks or months going through
Sure.
this?
So I guess this is my first Solve meeting.
Welcome. Yes.
So everybody kind of knows. I didn't really know about it until yesterday, so I thought I would come in and take a look.
Cool. So where do you work, or if you want to give the company name, what do you do?
So I work internal IT at a company called NISC. It's short for National Information Solutions Cooperative. We have our main locations are in Lake St. Louis and then Mandan, North Dakota. So I'm in Mandan, North Dakota.
Wow.
So that's my team is primarily responsible for our SaaS type apps. So yeah.
Okay. So you G Suite, Okta, Slack, Zoom, or should we roll the dice and think of some other best of breed SaaS applications?
It's more of a rolling of the dice. We have Okta. We're very big into Okta. We also have Office 365 versus G Suite. And yeah, I hear you. I'm on the same boat. So we have that, and then we also we have WebEx for our meeting solution. So it's kind of I would rather use Zoom. WebEx is somewhat unfriendly, I would say, but we're actually doing a little bit of a trial with Zoom now with some of our people because we're having some issues with WebEx not providing the features that they need for doing something.
Yeah, Office 365. Why don't you use Teams?
Yeah.
Well, that has been brought up, and that's being used internally. Unfortunately, for external stuff, it doesn't work quite as well as I think that they intend it to.
Yeah, that's another whole topic for another day. Would be the internal versus external tech and what you have to adopt and what's easiest for what naturally works for your client, for your internal employees. But then when you add the complexity of client requirements, then it gets often crazy complicated. So I'll have to remember that for another time, another discussion. Glad you're able to join, Jared, and you found out about our bi-weekly recorded Solve meetings. Going further along, Justine.
Hi. Let's see. I think the thing that I've learned that I was most surprised by is that, I mean, I'm sure the rest of you have seen something similar at your organizations, but our video conferencing for both Hangouts and Zoom, like the amount of meetings have doubled for both of those products in the last month. So March versus February, it's like double for both of them. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about like our company culture specifically, because people are used to running into each other in the hallway, kind of hashing out problems as they happen to meet each other. So it makes sense when you think about it that way to see this like huge growth. But, there was a point last week where I'm like, why do I have so many meetings? It feels like I should have less now that I'm working from home, but turns out people miss me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think probably companies are having more meetings because you do miss those bumping into people in the corridors and having the quick catch-ups. Now it has to be, we have to talk like this. And I found it, there is a lot of wellness or social meetings happening as well. In this time, I think, management and leadership and, team leaders and that, are being more diligent and checking in with their team members more regularly. So of course, then that gives you the feeling that my day is filled with meetings, but you've got to keep a track of things. So, all right, sliding a little bit along, Brian.
Damn it, Justine stole all of my learnings. No, I think some things I've noticed. Let's see. I thought that all of the sort of Zoom social events that we've now started seeing would be more awkward than they really are. I mean, there's definitely like some level of awkwardness, but like we've had some Zoom happy hours and it's kind of like a nice catch up with people, even if there's some like weird moments of silence or people talking over each other or people getting like disconnected, but it's a little bit like refreshing because people are kind of everybody's on the same level. So people are a little bit more, maybe more candid, and like that's kind of nice. It's been better than I expected. I also, I noticed, so like in the job openings channel, Mike Lynch posted a bunch of links to different sites that have remote work opportunities. And so somebody had mentioned earlier, like trying to keep an eye out for people who have maybe lost their jobs or companies that have been downsized. And I think it's a really good resource. Like he posted a bunch of stuff, including like an Airtable sheet that has like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies and whether they're on hiring freezes or still hiring. So I just pinned that to the channel. So if anybody needs to refer somebody to a job, it's really great. And it's good to see all of that stuff come together.
That is a detailed post. I just had a look. Yeah, I'll copy that and put it in the description, in the show notes. Very cool.
Yeah, I think it's great. And then personally, I think I've been taking my cues a lot from companies that have been already remote, either first or remote work friendly. So GitLab is like a really obvious example of a company that's huge and all remote, and they have just like, I mean, like I think Rose, you mentioned Slack has a lot of good content before. GitLab has so much, like hundreds of pages of like, are you feeling isolated? Like, how do you manage a remote team? How do you manage yourself? Like, how do you set up the tech for it? How do you process, like do requests? How do you, like, it's really good content.
That's good. Cool. Excellent. Sliding.
Basecamp as well.
Oh yeah, Basecamp too. Basecamp. Yeah, they've got a lot. Jason Fried wrote an entire book on working remotely.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure they get all of that stuff's going to be flying off the shelves, and I know, a lot of organizations that probably were resistant to remote working or C-level execs that didn't like it as a company policy or weren't supportive of it. Obviously, I'm assuming with everything that's happening at the moment and what's going to carry on happening, people are going to be a lot more open to that and see that it can happen, and people are being very, very productive and doing great jobs collaborating with people from remote locations. And talking of remote locations, we have Sean there out, I believe, at the edge of space.
Yeah, it's I'm social distancing. They said 6 parsecs. Is that right? Yeah. Hey, sorry, you're just getting my ceiling earlier. I saw Blair's awesome SaaSOps shirt, and so I went running into my bedroom to grab my fanny pack because I was going to wear it around my neck because I'm a very serious person. But apparently, now that we're all in the same house, my children like playing with that as well. So I have no idea where it is at all, none whatsoever. Yeah. Speaking of Blair, I shudder to see the day that all your hair is on fire. Rose, real quick, if you get a chance, I would love to see the Slack messages the Slack information or the information from Slack that you've been sharing with your team, because that's something this morning I decided that I have to start doing as well. Yeah, and also I just wanted to point out, I totally agree that Zoom is like under unfair scrutiny right now. The last bug that the security team told me about, last big, like, some researcher found out that Zoom can own your Mac, is like if they already have installed software or code on your Mac before you install Zoom. And I'm like, that's the use case we're worried about. Like someone broke into your house, logged onto your computer, installed something, and now when you install Zoom, that's our security problem. Like, that's so, like, it's so far out there.
Yeah, both of the vulnerabilities released recently were local vulnerabilities only. They could not be executed over the internet. So
yeah, so that's So far
during
as
a quarantine, I think makes it really funny. I'm like, really?
Exactly.
During a quarantine.
My 2-year-old works for Russia. He's gonna hack me. Yeah. Yeah, what I've really found is like we've been like 30% remote. So some people this is really easy for the rest of us. Like there's especially now we're having difficulty finding the work-life balance. I was just talking to my boss, and I think we identified what we're afraid of. So we're very lucky, very privileged. We're relatively healthy during this. We work with a lot of like OTT customers and things like that. So we're still hiring, not for any IT jobs, I'm sorry, but you know, like we're moving forward. We're slowing down a little bit on our hiring, but we are still actively hiring and growing and all that. We're kind of running out of adrenaline, is what it feels like. Like I think our biggest Q2 threat is going to be people burning out. You used to, you start working remote and you're like, hey, this is awesome. I don't have to shower. I don't have to commute. I can eat breakfast during the first meeting as long as I'm on mute. And you're like, all these things seem awesome. The next thing you know, instead of working from 8 to 6, you're working from 7 to 8. Yeah. And there's no breaks now. You don't get up and go get a cup of coffee down the corner. You don't even commuting was like your own brain time, right? If you're on a subway or something, you can't be expected to respond to Slack. You can just play a game on your phone or read a book or whatever. Yeah. And we're missing all of those natural breaks. Yes. Lunch times, we're, you know, across the United States, some people in other countries. So like, we don't all have the same lunch time. So there's no like conscious specified breaks that none of them that we used to get all the time. I totally like
that's why like our team, like we specifically set out to put those breaks in our day. We're scheduling lunches, happy hours, coffee breaks. Like everybody's gonna have at least 3 natural or three forced breaks during the day, during the week. And then, but that's the thing is like, that's just adjusting to remote work and everybody doing it all at once. You're absolutely right. Like,
yeah, there is a lot of discipline, you know, and it's interesting you talk about the burnout. That's I've heard that mentioned in a lot of other places, and making sure, you know, people don't feel like, oh, I've woken up, I've got to sit in front of my laptop. It's like, you know, I've woken up, I can still do my own things. I can, you know, I still go for a fake commute sometimes. I get up, I walk to the train station, which is a mile away. I walk around the neighborhood and then I walk back home and I have my breakfast and then I start work at, you know, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I'm trying to be very, very good at, you know, 5, 6 o'clock of leaving this basement and going upstairs where, you know, it's not work. You know, people are going to have vacations, and, you know, there will be staycations and there'll be some challenges with that, but they do need to be able to, you know, completely turn off. So, and sort of switch off. So just come back into the co-pilot seat, sliding across, and find out from Dave what how he's doing out there in the edge of hyperspace. What have you learned in the last couple of weeks? I know the last time you weren't able to speak. Can you hear us, Dave? Earth calling Dave. Come in, Dave. Over.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Oh, you still got the croaky voice.
No, that's mostly cleared up. The bronchitis has kind of gone past and through now. I'd say the biggest problem for me individually is that our last mile provider, Blue Ridge Communications out here in Pennsylvania, which is the only non-DSL option of ISPs in the greater
I know Blue Ridge
area. Yeah, they suck. Yeah, so they're having some issues today, which has been fun. So that's why I kind of joined the call late. So apologies to everybody. Let's see. The question is just kind of overall learnings for the team.
Yeah.
Let's see. Going back and taking for granted, we were asked early on to make guides for Zoom and update our guides for Zoom and things like that, but not for the traditional usage and sign in for Chrome extensions like we had. It was like, can you make a guide on how to use virtual backgrounds? I'm like, oh God. And it's like, yes, sure. We will make you guides for all of these superfluous, virtual backgrounds and polls and, how to do reminders in Slack and all that kind of crap that apparently people decided they needed now that they're outside the office. So, hopefully that continues. Hopefully we can take some normal users and make them power users or something of the like as they continue into their kind of their normal everyday business, as there are some nice features there. But yeah, I think someone had mentioned something about like remote meetings being upticked. I mean, we used to have an all hands every 2 weeks, and now we have 3 a week. I'm like, oh, God, it seems too much. We have an engineering all hands, we've got the company all hands, and then we've got like these kind of the flu like whatever company event we're doing, whether it's happy hour or kids or everyone live streaming their baking or cooking, kind of on and for our medium photo contests or whatever the case may be. So it does seem like they're doing that extraordinary step to make sure that the culture is maintained, which I think is a great thing, and certainly something that is difficult to achieve remotely. Beyond that, I mean, kind of just standard challenges. Mostly with some other international folks. We have a small team. It's just me and another individual that does all the IT support for the company. And now we're running into some more fun logistics because our recruiting team has hired just a huge number of people remotely, and so now we're having to do a lot more. Like, oh, it's like, you need me to ship to Australia? Like, oh, fuck, all right, that's new. Like, all right, let's figure out what the timeline is on that, things like that. So that's been some fun things for us as well.
Yeah.
Dave, are you doing touchless deploys, or do you have to set up the machines first?
No, we're all jammed and DEP'd, so we are ZTP, but I mean, we still have to send peripherals and things like that as well, because we can't always trust the user to have like a mouse or wrist pad or all the random ass crap that they ask for. Especially the USBC dongle. That's the thing that comes up the most. It's like I don't have a way to plug in my mouse. I'm like, oh shit, we gotta send you a dongle. That's right. So luckily, my associate and I, we both took back when we had to leave the office. We both took backpacks home of like chargers and keyboards and mice and things like that. Basically looked like we were looting our own IT room.
Yes.
But
we started providing Bluetooth mice.
I was just going to say that we're doing the same thing.
Particularly for Mac, because some Mac and Chromebook models only have one port.
Yeah, we generally do the Apple mice, but there are some people who like to use their, like, for example, my chosen home mouse right now is my little fun Mamba one that I get to use because I totally don't play games on my work computer. But why bother having a 16-inch MacBook Pro with max specs if you can't play a little MOBAs on it?
I've been sending everyone one of these, which these are like $50 on Amazon or something. They don't, in my experience, don't burn out any faster than the Apple ones do, and they have an Ethernet port and a couple USBs and HDMI. And I just don't even ask. Yeah, same thing. Rose has. Yeah.
Is it Anchor? Is that the make?
No, though I think they're all made in the same factory. But
yeah, they're all very
the
similar.
Brand name. Oh, you can't see that because of my background. Oh, look at that. Oh, there you go. Via.
I think we have the same one.
Mine is Hutu. Is the brand.
Yeah, mine's Hutu as well. Monoprice also has a really good like desktop one that you can just put on your desk. It's got like display ports in it and stuff like that. So if you have more like true work from home people that actually have like a desk and stuff at their house, the like big old 50 USB port, whatever it is, those ones are nice too.
Do you want a desk?
Well, actually, that's a great question. Just Colin, if you don't mind me hijacking for just a quick second. Just quick, I guess, show of hands. Has anyone's company gone ahead and taken the stance of providing some sort of employee stipend for either tech purchases or monitors or random crap like that? Because I know that that's come up, daily, whether via Slack or something like that.
Like 3 of us were on, 4 of us, all 4 people on that panel are here today. I just think.
What was the answer?
No, pretty much.
Yeah, we'll give them everything.
We changed ours.
Oh yeah.
Did you?
We hadn't figured it out at the time of the panel, and then we did eventually. We didn't do a stipend, but we had people are able to expense up to like a certain amount for certain categories of things.
Yeah. What are those categories, by the way? I'm assuming they're not monitor stands or desks or desk chairs.
No, it's monitors. James, what's the other 2? Keyboard, mice, and like other, I think. but it's like there's a
Yeah, it's like keyboard
limit.
mice
It's like there's like a cap. There's like a cap, a total cap, and then there's like a cap per category. So people don't spend all, I don't know, whatever, $300 on a monitor.
Well, so the reason that we don't ask them to expense it is because we would rather do the like work ourselves of buying the products that we know work, and like I don't want our users buying some off-brand thing from Amazon or wherever, and then it burns out in 2 weeks and they have to buy another one. So we're still, it's hard though, because the supply chain is,
everything's out of stock.
Yeah, it is now. And I'm sure, when things were normal, you could buy, 50 of a Logitech, keyboard or mouse, and you get a really good price, as opposed to the end users buying, individual units. This is all great conversations. I just wanted to carry on going round, and this is almost going to be like an introductory round robin show, because we're coming up to 2:40. I wanted to speak to our roving reporter out there on the field, Caleb, who's just doing his daily errands while listening to us. But you were next in the line, and then it will be last, but by no means least, Alex there, who's got Commander Barkley behind him. So Caleb,
so it's my weekly run to the store. So I was at the store when I wasn't no video. You didn't want to see going in and out of my pocket as I'm checking off my list and scanning and stuff and whatever. So yeah, I just got home from that. I more have a question than an answer to yours. We've had no remote users really, and now we're all remote. And so my question is, the other day I had to figure out a way. Some users like, hey, all my monitors went black. I'm like, what? How does that even happen? Did you kick a cord? And he's basically just a big idiot. But I had to meet him in the office because I couldn't think of another spot.
Hopefully he doesn't watch this.
He doesn't. He doesn't know how, because he basically just, his computer, I don't know why it went black to begin with, but when he plugged in, he went to the onboard graphics instead of the discrete. And so that's why there was no signal. So I drove all the way into my office and put myself at risk with him to tell him there's nothing wrong with his desktop and go home. And then he got home and his mouse didn't work. It's because it was off. So how do you remote troubleshoot that? So I basically made him install Hangout so we could do a video, and when we got home, he's doing a video, and I'm like, this is great. And like, yeah, did you, oh yeah, it's off. Okay. Other than that, what do you guys use to kind of trouble?
No, Caleb, that's how you do it.
Okay.
There's no secret to remote support, guys. That is how you do it. Sometimes you literally have to get them to put it up to the camera, and then they'll put it too close or they'll put it too far. For you to see what they're looking at. Like, we have literally had users take pictures of the backs of their monitors because they could not figure out what we were trying to tell them. We had them take pictures of literally every side of their laptop just to make sure that they got the right side.
I think,
Send me 6 instead of 1, because I know describing which one I need is not going to help.
I think you have to assume nothing. There's the classic call that, comes into help desk where, somebody says, something's wrong with my computer, it won't turn on. And the person says, all right, well, let's check the power button, press the power button. No, it's still not coming on. All right, go behind your computer and make sure the power cable's in. All right, hang on a minute, I have to go and get a flashlight. Why have you got to go and get a flashlight? Oh yeah, we've got a power cut, so the lights aren't on. Well, that's why your computer's not turning on. So it is asking those really rudimentary, fundamental questions.
Well, I guess to extend my question is, everyone that's legitimately remote and can't meet with the person, what do you do in hardware situations? And you're doing video and you're like, they still can't get it. Do you ship out another one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You keep loaners on hand to ship to them.
And you have shitty equipment too. Don't ship them out a brand new 16-inch MacBook.
No, you keep the
hang on to that old
computers on
2012 Air or whatever, and be like, oh, you can't figure out how to reboot your computer? Okay, use this. And then after a couple hours, they'll suddenly figure out, oh, I can hold the button down for 1 minute. Weird.
And one of the things we did really heavily in previous roles, especially when I was like running remote service teams that were, supporting completely remote workforces, is it's policy that if we can't solve it like through best effort, we're just going to remotely wipe your machine and start you over. Like, sorry, that's the next step before I send you a loaner. Like,
Right.
you should have backed it up, or we should have provided you a backup solution or whatever. But that was like written and everybody knew, like if it gets to the stage, that's the solve. Go to Jamf and, take care of it if you can.
Right.
Yeah, most people don't
that was
like
a good
getting
point.
new computers. So the threat of getting a new one, even as a loaner, like people don't like it. So they will figure that out really fast. But yeah, I mean, this is also part of why, it surprises me how few IT
Where's this
people
Chromebook?
you can have in an office. But then when you go to remote, like it's much more time intensive to support users, and you can't like Caleb, what's your ratio? It's like you to
25.
Oh, that's not too bad. Okay.
That's not bad at all.
But there are people that are like 1 to 500.
Right.
Right. Like you can't do that remotely. It's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, I know it's a small user base, and
you have
issue
to
is
help people one-on-one remotely usually,
right?
Because you
Right.
can't do 6 things at once in the same space.
Yeah, luckily there haven't been a lot of issues, but it's this one where he got it all set up fine, and then all of a sudden it just went black. I'm like, did you unplug something? Like when I went all the way in and plugged it in, it booted right up. I'm like, what were you doing? So yeah, I appreciate the input. That is really helpful. We don't unfortunately have inventory of computers and stuff like that because we are not a remote workforce. So we'll have to order one, and it is a small organization, so we all have big titles. Like I'm the chief information officer. I'm just the lowly IT guy. So this was the finance guy though, and since we are affected by this and cutting costs, he was in the middle of doing some massive report in Excel that he had to start over on. Oh well.
Oh, that's a shame. Anyway, well, that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you for joining. No.
I know we didn't get to Alex. Alex, do you want to go real quick?
Alex, I love your background. I've been watching Picard. I haven't watched the last episode. CBS All Access, as everybody knows, is I think free for 2 months. So I'm going to sign up and I'm going to watch all of the newer Star Trek series. I'm assuming you're a fan down there on the holodeck.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new series yet, but yeah.
What have you learned in the last couple of weeks, month?
Blair was saying, the sympathy, empathy thing with people working from home is big. We had a town hall yesterday, and our CFO's dog started barking during it, and you just have to laugh. And I think it's for people that don't naturally have empathy skills, this is kind of nudging them into sympathy. So it's a good thing overall. There's a little more allowance for people's lives interfering with their work. And yet the support aspect, I've been taking some overflow service desk calls. I don't know if anyone else is out of support pretty much, but I'm remembering what I don't like about it. Yeah, it's the assuming nothing on the other end of the phone, starting from zero, and all right, this is going to take 30 minutes and I'm okay with that. And just moving on from there. And if I've always told our guys, if you can't figure something out in 30 minutes, escalate it to me. If I don't know what it is, wipe the machine. Like why are we?
Yeah.
Send them a new mouse.
Yeah. And it is interesting, some of the tickets you get come in where somebody will open a ticket and it says, I can't, the link's not working, I can't get in, can you help? And it's like, well, first, what is the link? What were you trying to do? What was the error message? Is this repeatable? Where are you connecting from? Are you connected to the internet? There's all those questions that it's wonderful information that would be given, when that ticket first comes in.
Yeah, I usually get all that stuff from our service desk, so I have to ask those questions anyway. So
right.
I'm okay with asking questions, but
yeah,
good time to reacquaint yourself with troubleshooting fundamentals.
Yeah,
you can't assume anything.
And the other thing is I don't know how your guys' teams work, but in IT, we tend to react to a panic and solidarity, kind of come together and figure out what the issue is and how we can deal with it and assign out roles and what we're going to do. And that's been my experience through all this. It's just, I also know on the tail end of that, there's a complacency and a burnout that comes that that solidarity and crisis kind of mode wears off at some point, and then now you're just by yourself. And I'm talking with our director, trying to figure out how to really keep that step from getting there too quickly and keep us on the same page. And if it's more meetings, I don't know if, I mean, there's benefit in that, but no one really knows except people that are already doing this complete 100% work from home.
I'll post an article because Sean was asking for those Slack articles that I was talking about earlier. There's one specifically that has ideas on how to foster your team culture, even though you're remote. And it has some really interesting ideas on making sure your team stays emotionally connected. Because yeah, it is really strange to go from working in the office next to each other every day to working from home. And you're right, sometimes that wears off. That team solidarity wears off, and then you're just alone in your house fighting fires all the time.
Yeah, and I'm completely comfortable being by myself most of the time, but that, the few hours a week you see someone means a lot, and you may not really appreciate that until you can't do it. So yeah, I'll check that out. And also we have a merger coming up in May, and not really sure how that's going to happen because we have to do inventory and on-site assessment. And it's in Washington, so it's not.
Yeah, we're in the middle of an acquisition, and we're having pen testing done in May and June.
Cool.
For our SOC too. Yeah.
Well,
marches on.
Business does still have to carry on working. Mergers are happening. SOC 2 and pen testing is still happening. Products are being developed and released. People will leave organizations, and new starters will come on. So I know we've come up to about 50 minutes. We try and keep these to 45 minutes, and we didn't even get a chance to hear any recitals from Rose of her book.
Next time. We'll do an unfiltered version of that.
Yeah. But I think it's great to hear, from everybody, and thank you for, Alex being the last person. And I know it was, can be sometimes difficult if, the person in front of you has already taken what, you might be able to offer. But I think us as a collective voice, there's a lot of knowledge and, roadmap and thought, that we can all take and utilize for, where we currently are, or help, advising other people. So thank you. We'll pause the recording now. Rose, thank you very much, lady.